What comes to mind when you think of an early spring getaway? A beach somewhere warm? Wearing shorts and flip-flops while back at home it's still freezing cold? Well, we turned that on its head and instead traveled north to Canada this year. Amtrak via Rail Canada has a great package that takes you right to the heart of the Canadian Rockies, which is somewhere we have not visited before, and we really wanted to have the train experience.
Our journey began in Vancouver, British Columbia, where we spent 2 nights. Vancouver is a very pretty city with a lovely waterfront on a river that eventually leads to the Pacific Ocean. We did a hop-on, hop-off tour that took us all over town. Vancouver is home to Canada Place, which is an event center that hosts world-class events and is at the heart of the waterfront area. We also visited Stanley Park and several other interesting areas around town.
Then it was time for what we were most looking forward to, boarding the train for the trip through the Rockies. The train was rather long and we eventually arrived at our car. We were excited to see our accommodations and found them, cozy. At first, we weren't sure if we were going to sit up in these chairs all night. As it turns out, they do fold down and make way for a bottom and top bunk. John got dibs on the top.
Greetings from the top bunk.
It was en suite, too, which is French for there's a tiny bathroom and a closet. But we were fine with it. It was definitely an upgrade over the Trans-Siberian Railway trip we took a few years ago.
After the train left the station, we headed for one of the domed cars with windows overhead so we could check out the scenery along the way. The outskirts of Vancouver seemed to drag on for a while, until finally it all opened up and the Rockies came into view. They were magnificent. Champagne and canapes were served as we watched the approaching scenery and got to know some of our fellow travelers, including a 4-legged one. No train is complete without a dining car, and dinner with several courses was served, and it was very good. After dinner, it was back to the dome car to watch as dusk and dark shrouded the Rockies.
We were up and at 'em early for breakfast, with packing and more dome watching as we pulled into Jasper, a small town in Alberta and gateway to Jasper National Park. It was a short train trip, but very enjoyable. If you love trains or have always wanted to travel by train, this is your ticket.
Jasper itself is quaint and sits among the Rockies. We toured Jasper National Park the next day and took in the beautiful scenery and wildlife, including this group of bighorn sheep that decided to take up residence on the highway. Next day, it was off to Lake Louise, several hours away by bus. We like long bus trips. They're usually peaceful and allow you to take in the scenery and even doze off. No dozing on this trip, as the weather turned out to be a little hairy and snow started covering the road. We tried not to watch. We kept telling ourselves that our driver does this all the time.
A few hours later, we arrived in Lake Louise Village and headed off to see the lake itself, which was still frozen over. We, like everyone else, walked on it and took selfies with snowmen. Who wore the furry hat better? Fairmont hotels are all over Canada, and this one at Lake Louise is beautiful with a great view of the lake in any season. This particular season, they cleared out a spot for ice skating.
Next up, Banff, which turned out to be our favorite stop. Banff is another quaint town that's nestled right in the middle of the Rockies. We visited Banff National Park, which is truly beautiful. Another Fairmont hotel sits in an idyllic location. We then journeyed up by gondola to the top of Sulphur Mountain and then hiked over to a nearby peak where the 360-degree views of the mountains and Banff below was just breathtaking.
It may have been cold and icy, but it was so worthwhile and rewarding. Afterward, we dined on a little Canadian delicacy called poutine, which is basically overcooked French fries mixed with cheese curds and smothered in gravy. Yum?
Curd and fry.
I got gravy and curd. Interesting. I'd say very interesting.
Yeah.
All in all, a very good trip that we thoroughly enjoyed.
We've been all over the world and have been to Canada numerous times, but this was special. I think we tend to underestimate the beauty of our northern neighbor. For Great Day TV, we're Ann and John.